Hi everybody, it's Mike here again from TwoDads.U.K. So welcome to another of our COVID-19 support sessions. Today has a real emphasis on support, and it's one of the episodes that I'm certainly looking forward to sharing, because I think it's certainly going to resonate with a lot of people that are mid-treatment, trying to conceive. I think this is going to be a really important session. So I'm thrilled to be joined by Mary-Anne Singh, who is a fertility counsellor and works currently at the Lister. She has worked at a number of fertility clinics, but she's currently working at the Lister. She also sits on the exec committee for BICA, which is the British Infertility Counselling Association. So without further ado, welcome, Mary-Anne.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well. Thanks for inviting me.
No, my word. No, thank you for being here. So as all of the sessions go, your particular area of specialism is obviously currently fertility counselling. So that's going to build the basis of what we're going to be talking about for the next sort of 14 minutes or so. So let's jump right in then. How this is just in uncharted territories. How are you finding counselling patients during this pandemic, and what's the overall reaction from clients and patients?
Well, I think the overall reaction really is an increased level of anxiety, on top of any other anxiety one might have when going through fertility treatments anyway. And of course, that's because of the uncertainty, So in a way, it's almost as if the world is mirroring these fertility treatments, and the anxiety that's rising up for patients is certainly something that I've noticed while I've been counselling them. And it's something which, is very challenging to work with, if I'm being honest. It's not the easiest thing because we don't have any answers. We're in the same position as the patients, that we don't always have answers. But what we do have is empathy. And I think that actually during this time, having some counselling support is really helpful.
And I'm assuming all of your counselling support is all done via the phone and via video link at the moment, I'm assuming.
Yes. At the Lister, we do FaceTime, and we do also talk over the phone, if that's what they would prefer. It does seem to be going quite well, actually. So, that's good. And, we can carry on our jobs, and it can be, very effective, and it can be very helpful for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. Certainly what I'm hearing and experiencing, with the intended fathers that we work with, that we've recommended to clinics, they're certainly finding it definitely useful having that contact and being kept up to date, whilst you may not know when treatment's likely to start, but just having some empathy.
I think so. And also, helping people to be more informed as well, and letting them know what they can do, because if they focus very much on what they can't do, that feels very negative. But there are certain things that they can do during this time.
That leads nicely on to the next question then. So what do you suggest patients do during these times, if they haven't heard from their clinic, or what should they be doing generally? What's your opinion or professional advice?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and I've given it some thought. I think that one thing they can do is they can contact their clinic directly if they haven't already heard from them, like you've said. So they can start asking questions about what will the clinic's processes be, when they open, their doors again. So when the floodgates open, what's going to happen? I think, if they haven't done anything at the moment, clinics, then they're not really doing a great job. I know at the Lister we're doing quite a lot. We are contacting patients. There are numbers that people can phone in on, and ask questions, both clinical. They can, ask a consultant a question. So those things are out there, and obviously we're offering the counselling during that time as well. But really, clinics should be working on this at the moment, and because they're not doing actual treatments, then effectively they've got time to listen. So that's really helpful. I mean, at the Lister, a lot of our nurses actually have been deployed, because they're working for the NHS now, and aiding the pandemic. So but we do have people there to support, and definitely management are working very hard to make
Yeah.
sure that after lockdown, things will go as smoothly as possible, because I think there's a lot of anxiety around that. What's going to happen finally when the lockdown closes?
And you've mentioned previously there's some signposted information. I think BioNews is one of the articles where there's some information for fertility patients, things to do, or guidance for the care of those patients during the pandemic, which we'll reference in the comments as well. So that's obviously something which we can signpost.
Yeah, because I know that Angela, who's the chair of BACP, there is a link on BioNews where she's talking about self-care, for patients during this time. But also BioNews is something that anyone can subscribe to. It's free. And although it might be more aimed at scientists and doctors and things, you can learn quite a lot by keeping yourself informed. And I think for patients, that if they feel informed, then somehow that makes them feel a little bit more secure. So they know everything that they can know during this time. Obviously, there's a lot that we don't know, but knowing what you can know, I think, does help.
Yeah, agreed. No, I agree. What do you think is the most common anxiety that people are feeling at the moment? Because is it potentially their age, the number of cycles they've already had, whether this 3 or 4 month period away from treatment is going to have a negative impact on their greater cycle? What are people feeling at the moment? What is that real crippling anxiety caused by?
I think it's caused by a number of different things. I suppose if I'm going to pick one, I would say that age, the age factor, related more to women's low ovarian reserve. If they knew before the pandemic that their ovarian reserve was quite low, so we're talking about women who are aged between 41, 42 maybe, I think their anxiety is really high about whether or not they're actually even going to be able to have treatment. It might not be possible. In fact, some of the ladies that I have spoken to, often single ladies, are now starting to contemplate double donation. Whether they need to or not, I don't know, but I think that they are, I won't say catastrophizing it, because I think it's a real anxiety, because nobody knows. But having spoken to James, our clinical director, he says from some of the data that we have, really good data, that within a 4-month period, it's likely to decrease a tiny amount, say something like 2%, probably not much more than that. And obviously that could make the difference. But on the other hand, maybe knowing that might help to reassure ladies who are feeling quite anxious about that at the moment.
And certainly backed up with data. That's certainly going to reassure some women out there that what is the impact on that window or that period, and whilst 2% can have effects elsewhere in terms of hopefully the broader picture, it's minimal, all being well.
Yeah, I mean, I think some ladies are actually already grieving. They're sort of moving more towards the place of acceptance that they might not be able to use their own DNA, which is really, really sad. It's difficult to hear, but that's my job. So I think also it doesn't just affect ladies who want to go through treatment. There are couples, there are people who we're just about to go through a surrogacy arrangement, as you've been, talking about, and I think there might be some anxieties even after the end of lockdown around infection control, and those kind of things. And I think it's very important actually to go with what the facts are rather than the fiction. There is so much information out there, isn't there? I mean, if you just Googled,
I've stopped doing it.
it would do your head in.
Yeah. All my news notifications are turned off because it's just
Yeah,
not good for me, because I'm just like, oh my word.
yeah. I mean, also one of the important things, if anyone's got embryos that are reaching their 10-year limit, I know that some patients have been really anxious because obviously they can't use them during this time, and they can't actually have them transported out of the country either. But the HFEA have issued a statement which basically has said that the clinic should try to continue with legislation, but they're not going to take action against a clinic during this time because, you know, of what's actually happening because of the circumstances around COVID. So again, it's really important to keep that communication going, I think, with your clinic.
Yeah.
Keep talking to them. And if
Agreed.
they're a good clinic, they'll listen, and
Yeah, of
you know
course.
they'll give you a response, you know, which is ultimately what they should be doing.
And I think that last piece of information is really key, because it's something that I hadn't heard that had been discussed, because I know there's a couple of people that I've been talking to that are approaching the end of that storage limit, and an element of common
Yeah,
sense needs to apply, surely, because if there's a period of, we don't know whether it's 3,
yeah.
6 months, you know, let's be reasonable here, do you know?
I know, and I think the thing is, you know, that sometimes mistakes can happen. So I think it's that, you know, there are things that you can do, and if you don't ask any questions, that might increase the chance of that mistake happening. So I think it's good to make sure that you're kind of as proactive as you can be during this process. I mean, obviously, you might not get the answers that you want. We hope that you do, but I think it is about talking to friends and family, and just keeping yourself quite well connected, I think, as well, with what's going
Mhm.
on.
And I guess a by question of the last one. So apologies for putting you on the spot with this one. Are you talking to many patients that are having treatment because of maybe oncology reasons or fertility preservation? How are that group of patients being counselled? The same way, I'd assume?
They are being counselled the same way. Well, I say the same way, it depends very much on their individual circumstances, but um, very often what we see coming up is this fear of the lack of control, about not just about what's going to happen within the pandemic, but about obviously about their treatment, and that's always there. So it's about trying to work with the anxiety, looking at some coping strategies,
Mm-hmm.
which is important. You know, just trying to manage the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you know the whole country feels quite
Yeah.
anxious. So
Yeah.
even I
Absolutely.
feel anxious about
Oh,
it.
tell
But
me
you
about
know,
it. Off the scale at the minute.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we've got sort of 2 minutes left. So one of the things that I'm going to put in the comments are all of the really useful support networks that you've provided
thank
us
you.
with. So whether that's
Yeah,
Beaker or BioNews, or the list of patients to contact, so that the secretary group at email address, as well
that's
as
right.
contacts into Fertility Network, and the great support network of IVF Babel,
Yeah,
who do an amazing job, and obviously DPS and Mind as well. So I'll list all of those in the comments.
that's
Um,
great.
in terms of your top tips then for the last minute and a half, because it
Yeah,
flies by, doesn't it?
okay.
This time
I'll
flies
try and
by.
get the top tips in. Well,
Go for it.
like I said, like I said earlier, Mike, basically keep talking. If you can talk to a specialised fertility counsellor, I think it can really help because they've got the empathy, they've got the understanding. Keep social online with your friends and your family,
Mhm.
because that way your world is going to feel like it's a much bigger place. You won't feel so isolated. Um, Sometimes it's helpful to keep a feelings journal,
Mhm.
so you're more
Okay.
aware of how you're feeling.
Yeah,
And
like
then,
that.
you know, if you do that each day, then, you know, you can think about what you need and then try to action what you need.
Mhm.
Keep a daily routine. I can't stress this enough. If you've got a
Yeah.
routine, then that does make you feel a lot more secure.
Mhm.
Um, Learn how to use your breath to sort of calm and
Yeah.
ground yourself
Yeah.
a little bit. Mindfulness is very
Mhm.
useful, of course.
Mhm.
I think you're already looking at that one.
Yeah.
Try to keep to the facts and not the fiction. because overly negative thinking can really spiral out of control. And if one of your triggers might be watching the news, for example, don't watch it just before you go to sleep at night, because that's going to make it worse and you might not sleep. So just be really kind to yourself during this time. It's not an easy time. And, you know, in a way, it's natural to feel anxious, but it's just about how you're going to manage the anxiety. And, you know, basically that comes down to a lot of self-care. So, yes, did I manage that in a minute and a half?
You did, you did. Thank you. I could carry on talking and wanting to know more and more and ways to manage my own anxiety through all of this.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you from the community that you know uses your services. I know we had to use the services of fertility counsellors going through our treatment for our implications counselling. You guys do an incredible job, and we're super grateful. So thank you for giving me the time today to go through this.
It's been a pleasure, Mike. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me here to do this. That's been great.
You're welcome. No, I've loved it. Thank you so much, Mary-Anne, and we'll speak soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.